right, it's 6:36. We have a quorum, we'll open up. First item on the, yeah, we are being recorded for the, everyone knows, Mr. White and I have agreed that we may do so. I'm not going to read the general announcements at this point, this is supposed to be here. Audit committee letter to the Board of Selectmen that went out to Mr. Cruz last Thursday. It was Thursday, wasn't it? He got it out right away, signed it, and got it out there. I also we received a fiscal year 2011 report from the town administrator last week.
We did?
Yes, remember they gave us July 1st.
Oh, you know what, I didn't.
2011,
yes.
No, you didn't.
No, I took
I couldn't find those, but all that was there was that. We got these
Just
last
this?
week. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
There's a couple of quick items I want to bring to everybody's attention.
Okay.
First off, we don't have the revenue number and revenue numbers.
I just said 11.
This is 11. This is from July 1st, 2010 to June 30th, 2011. All right, there was not a revenue page, so if you're looking for it, it's not there. The deficits, basically is based on, that's shown on that report that we received, is merely the amounts that were spent over the appropriated amounts for the individual departments. There was one key number that I did note, and that was that under the intergovernmentals, there is a $227,000 appropriation on page 13 or 15.
Long one. We're on 67. Do you have the 15 page from Larry?
I don't know, I probably do.
13 or 15.
Good evening. There's Ray.
Did you take it here?
The file is there.
13 and 7 under intergovernmental, there's a county tax line, you'll see on the far left is an original budget of 66,822,
Better?
and then there's a budget revision of 227,699.
All right, 13 and 15. Okay, hold on. Would you hold on, Mr. Chairman, please, for 1 second? Stu Coley is not reorganized.
I was organized, I just got out of my car from work. Thank you.
Okay.
I was sharp, you didn't even feel it.
Okay, so where are we at, did you say, Mr.
13
Chairman?
and 15,
Okay, I'm here.
all right, county tax. Intergovernmental is everything that's on the chair
Well,
sheet.
that's 13.
Okay, boss. I see
All
that.
right, you'll see there's a original budget under the county tax of 66,822. And then there's a budget revision of 226,99. All right, I sent that back to our town accountant because
There it is.
Hi guys.
Well, we were.
that 227,699 appears to relate to something that was associated with the school department. So that appropriation may have been doubled. It might have been included in the school numbers being set up on the chair. That's important because when you go to do this year's budget, that 227 is carried forward into another number. Okay, so when you're looking at your budget, make sure, we're gonna have to get an answer for that.
Well, that will make the 139 worse then?
Yes, it would have.
Okay.
What I basically did do is you go back and analyze what happened. Basically, general government, general government, they had a surplus of 100,000. Public safety was a deficit of 123,000. And that basically was all in the police department.
All in the police department.
Pretty much all in the police department.
That's it.
Education was $6,500, but the actual mix for non-net and net was slightly, it comes in 6,500, it was $60-some-odd thousand, plus and minus.
Okay.
Let's see, Public Works
Which one?
was a
Okay.
deficit of 456,799,
What page?
Yeah, right here.
Oh, yeah.
and most of that was associated with the hurricane.
And-
For that, I'm sorry, it was mainly due to the snow.
Right.
Stone
It
ice.
was Snow and ice, that's what the huge number was there, like $500,000. All right, and that's when the 227 becomes important, because it offsets that number.
Okay.
All
Right.
right, if that 227 hadn't been in there, then our deficit would have been much worse. And it appears that 227 was an error, let me get a final answer on
What
that.
does that do to free cash, Mr.
It
Chairman?
doesn't touch free cash.
All right.
All right, well, it does, I'm sorry. That 227 would have been part of the free cash calculation.
Mhm.
All right, culture and recreation was a $16,000 surplus. Debt service was $58,000 surplus. We discovered we discussed the intergovernmental, the unclassified, which is basically retirement, town insurance, medical, life, FICA. Right, that was basically a $31,000 deficit. Stabilization, nothing was transferred out of there, that was break even. The reserve fund, the finance committee turned back $24,000. And the last item was, they call it other amounts raised, that was basically zero. I just want to make it all right that because that 227 does become important when you look at this year's operating budget that's been proposed to us, because a number of $292,578 has been proposed for the 2013 budget. Also exists in the 2012 budget. So we need some real clarification on this. And I just want to bring that to your attention. I think it's important we all understand that. Pardon?
May I ask a question?
Sure.
Is there anything going on with collaborative about meeting about the budget yet?
The school committee definitely would like to do so. I sent an email to Mr. Curtis, I sent an email to Mr. Sweat. School committee actually wants to do that, plus they would also like to come in next week at 6 o'clock, an hour before their meeting. What they'll do is they'll open their meeting recess, come over to see us, sit down with us and talk about what the impact would be is if they're level funded at 26, not at the 25 that the town administrators put it. And then they'll talk about what gets cut in great detail, if we would like to do that.
I thought we voted on it, didn't
I thought we did too.
We
I
what?
thought we voted on doing it.
Yes, we did.
Okay.
So I'm just saying, but I need a quorum to do it.
At 6
So,
o'clock next Wednesday?
6 o'clock next Wednesday.
Okay.
All right, and like I said, they're gonna come in and discuss great detail. And, layoffs, program removals, anything and everything that needs to be cut. And that will be not at the town administrator's number, that would be at level funding,
Okay.
all right?
Yeah.
Which I think is probably what they're gonna try to put out.
it? Well, they've already approved their budget as is at 28, correct?
Yes. Now, I'm getting a little ahead because I had the budget review.
Sorry.
I'm
Okay.
sorry too. I just wanted to know how we were doing with,
And I haven't heard from the selectmen yet. The warrant does close on the 13th. And there's things that we need to have settled by the 13th, because then the warrant goes to print. When does it go to print? Well, it closes on,
Closes on the 13th and the warrant goes to print.
it goes to the printer April 9th. Okay, so we have some time there. But we'll receive a copy of the warrant on the 14th, I believe. On the 14th of March.
what is town meeting now?
Town meeting is the 23rd.
Next week.
All right, I also had on here, the FY12 report. Did anybody have any comments on that? I have a little trouble reading it. The one thing, the number that's on there for unobligated balances is basically comparing the year-to-date expenditures to the revised budget, but it doesn't tell us anything as to where we stand again against revenues. I would encourage you to look at that and go over it as well. If you would.
Are we getting, Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry,
Mhm.
are we getting what the charter says we're supposed to be getting as far as reports? As far as them,
Yeah, it's actually, technically under the charter, we are not required to get these reports, monthly reports. But it is a credibility issue, so that's what we've been talking about. And I think it's getting stronger, so they're still trying to correct some things in the system right now. All right, and it's getting better and better with every pass. I will say that, but like I said, there are some questions. The more important thing is that the 11 in information for appropriations and for actuals are supposed to be on our next budget pass document. All right, and 12 is supposed to come not with year-to-date, but with an estimate for the entire year. First thing we'll have to do when we get that is to compare where we are at the end of like February to what they're saying, and see how good the estimate is, and if there's any problems. Okay, town meetings on the 23rd, I'm gonna try to move right along so we can get them.
Just to back up a second, Frank, did you say you're gonna get into talking about the school, budget,
Yes,
no,
I
a
will,
little later on?
yes.
Okay, that's all right, then. Thank you. I'll
Okay.
wait, yep.
The town meeting is on the 23rd, I have that down. We're supposed to receive the closed warrant tentatively for our 14th meeting. All right, nobody can seem at this point to give me any idea of exactly how many articles there are gonna be. I have heard that there's gonna be at least 4 debt exclusions, the spending will be on there. There will be 3 or 4 articles from CPC. There's an article I also heard today there will be an article to cap the betterment, I believe it's contract 2, or is it contract?
Contract, well, it's the phase 2 of the project.
All right, contract, phase 2 of the project, or I think it's basically contract 2. They cap it at $18,000, which could be $3,000 to $4,000 less than what some other numbers floating around. There's no final number on what the betterment would be, but.
what project is that? Which project are they talking?
Oakdale Premises.
Oh, the Oakdale
Right.
Community.
And, if that were to pass, that's probably gonna be the most controversial article that we're gonna have to deal with. Because if it passes at town meeting, then any additional monies for the betterment will fall back to the sewer users, all right, or the town in general. I'm not sure which one it's gonna go.
They'll put it back to the sewer enterprise fund, the sewer and everything.
Pardon? You just have to speak up.
It's a sewer issue, they'll throw it to the sewer enterprise fund, they're not gonna put it in the general town government.
Well, they just put it.
Depends on how the articles are written, too.
Yeah, it depends on, there's gonna be a lot of questions on that one. Did you want to say something to the committee?
No, the article doesn't specify how the balance between the 18,000, the 18,000 and the 21 or 22 actual, what that difference, where it's gonna be financed. So as of right now, that's not in the article that I've seen.
Okay.
That's gonna be critical information for us, because, if it goes back against the people who are currently on the sewers, all right, that's gonna be a pretty good number for them. They're gonna wanna know why they're gonna have to pay it. It goes back to the town. We know the general feelings about, as soon as you start trying to mix the sewer users and non-sewer users, there's hard feelings there too. So this could be, I think this will be one of the tougher articles.
A little background question,
Mhm.
to clarify. Was that one of the projects that, I'm not thinking of the word correctly, that we got money for? Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't know,
Yeah,
I personally don't have all
Yes,
the
we did.
details
For
on it.
1 and 2, you did get funding for.
And they split it down the middle, did they not?
I don't know if they-
That's not the way it was supposed to be, but they did split it down the middle.
Yes, and my understanding is it was split down the middle, but there's a different number of users in each
Right.
phase, so
Mhm.
therefore, the amount of the betterments is significantly different.
Okay.
So, but, and again, they don't even have, they're supposed to have, based on what I heard, a betterment number mid-month, mid-March, or end of
No,
March.
I saw something about April, I don't know why. I didn't read the whole report.
Yeah, we'll have to chase it down, but we're gonna have to have somebody come before us. And we'll probably have to require the sewer commissioners to come see us and discuss it with us.
I was gonna say, what, oh,
They're
are
the
you
ones
making
that-
a joke, or are you talking about?
No, they're the only ones that can set it. We may literally have to ask them to come and talk with us or meet with us again. It's another, if we have a joint meeting with the Board of Selectmen, then obviously that would be another issue that would come up. But it's particular to the article, not to the budget.
I agree.
Okay. Next week, I understand Mr. Gray probably will be back as a committee attendance. Who else will be able to be here next week?
I'll be here.
Gary will
I'll be here.
Tom, you'll be able to make it. So we should have a quorum. I have to emphasize that,
6
especially,
p.m. is gonna
it's
be a
gonna be
little tough.
6 p.m. and I definitely, I'm sorry, Renee.
I can be here, I just can't be here by 6, so I know that's tough to call, it's usually when you need the quorum to call the meeting to order.
All right, well,
I'll be a
one, if
few
we get
minutes.
these five. And
Yeah.
you're away, and I believe Mr. Paulson's away, and Sam may be back, so we may have 7.
I might be like a few minutes late, I mean,
All right,
close at 6, I'm right around the corner, so I'll try to make it as quick as I can.
Depend on traffic for me.
all right. Well, make your absolute best efforts, because I can't open it up for the school committee
Right,
Yeah, we can't even
until
open
we
it
have
up,
a
yeah.
quorum.
Okay.
And I'm not sure how long their presentation will be. They're quite anxious to come to explain their situation.
Can we make a motion to pay my aggressive driving trip ticket if I get it?
Let's try. The action committee just met. I've been going there to bring everybody up to date. They do televise their meetings. I'm not exactly sure when it appears in WCTV. I'd encourage all of you to watch it. The conversation tonight was a discussion as to whether or not they would use a debt exclusion to try to fund some buses, or if they were going to cut service. And the cut in service would basically be any children that are less than 1.5 miles would have to pay a fee for transportation. And they would definitely cut all high school service. There would be no, they might possibly do 9th grade, but definitely 10, 11, 12 would not have any service. If they do that, they could cut 13 buses out of the fleet. There's more detail if you watch the tape. I can only write so fast when this comes down.
Hold on, you said they're gonna cut what on the high school?
All
Everybody does.
bus transportation,
That's
so
just a
grades 10
suggestion.
through 12.
Right?
That's Plan B.
So people in West Wareham, the kids gotta get to school on their own? Is that what they're suggesting? Is that what you mean? Okay.
No, if children, what's gonna happen is it'll be K through 6,
Yeah.
right? If they're less than 1.5 miles from the school, they will not be able to take the bus for free. They would have to pay a fee, unless they are on food assistance, on the meals plan. Which means about-
52%.
Right, the other
Okay.
48 will have to pay. Now, they don't have a structure on that yet. Right, by eliminating a lot of that service, then what happens is that they're able to remove 13 buses from the fleet, not replace them.
Excellent, they'll only have 30-something old buses instead of function.
Just by removing that, or by removing the high school as well?
So we're removing the high school as
As
well.
well.
Now,
All right, now there's a great deal of concern about attendance, et cetera. As I said, you really have to watch these meetings. And this is gonna be, what's gonna happen tonight is the school committee is addressing, putting an article before the town for a debt exclusion to try to, get buses to continue the service at the levels that they're at. But if the town rejects that, then Plan B does not require any action on the town. It's just, this is what the school committee would have to do. I'm trying to make sure everybody understands exactly what would happen. It's pretty draconian, really. One of the questions also that comes up is, and I think rightfully so, is what the impact that might have on attendance,
But
especially
that
at the high school.
still doesn't address the issue of our bus fleet. That all that does is, it doesn't really do that much to anything, actually. I mean, yes, it
Well, 13
reduces.
buses is quite a bit. and
Well, I understand
they're
that, but
gonna-
you still got,
They'll be discussing how they intend to replace the rest of the buses.
right, but we
But the
still
first
haven't
30,
replaced
well,
two
hey,
buses.
the main problem right now is they have 13 that are ready to pretty much stop. They're all 11 years old, or whatever. They would be off the road as of, the end of school this year.
What about the high school kids that are on free lunch? Do they get a bus ride?
I'm not sure on that
I'm
one.
kind
I
of curious about
don't
that.
necessarily think
No?
so.
Because what Dr. Rubinovich was saying is that the law doesn't require it. The law does not require that they bus anybody over, this is K through 6, that's it. Above that, they don't have to bus them.
That's right.
7 or above doesn't have to be bused, but if you're gonna be picking kids up for the 6th grade, they're gonna have 7th and 8th graders standing right there. Who's gonna be checking age cards or something, you know? So I think that's part of the reason why they said that they would go all the way probably through 9. Did you manage to watch the?
No, but I had this discussion 4 years ago with them too, so I remember him saying then that that's the law, it's not required.
Yes, no, it's not required.
Make them all walk.
Their next meeting,
Go, yeah.
Poor parents,
their next meeting,
poor parents at work, what are they gonna do?
It's in there.
is gonna be the 20th. I mean, there's such massive urgency that they're gonna wait almost 3 weeks to meet again.
See, mine doesn't.
Huh?
Mine does.
Oh, mine's going to Rochester, one way or the other, she's not going away.
So that's, please.
No, I hope to be
Um,
early.
Which day did you say, right?
Pardon?
What day in March?
They're looking at Tuesday, March 20th at 5 p.m.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
So again, Tuesday,
Tuesday,
the 20th.
at 5 p.m. And they meet in the selectmen's room. They also, it's televised.
Okay.
Right, so you can watch it on TV. And be before the selectmen's meeting. Budget review. Anybody had a chance to look at this? Which has come to us? My general understanding is, whatever you see for revenue is what it is.
Except for the
Except that the
growth.
growth number will probably now drop to about 170 rather than the 135 that comes, so it's up about $50,000. But I don't hear anyone talking anything but what it is. So therefore, the question on the budget becomes, where do we save any money to deal with the school issue? Because the number that's in the plan, and on the plan, the budget right now is for 25 million.
But I had it there, I've lost everything.
25,880 town administrator's number. And the school committee did vote, at their number of 28,780,000. If you go back, section 5.5 of the town charter says that the proposed budget is to include the school budget as proposed by the school committee. Or as requested by the school committee. So a debate now exists as to which number belongs in this budget for the warrant. Is it 25,880 or the 28,780? And the school's taking a very strong stance. They're saying that the charter allows them to put the 28,780 in there, which means we have a $3 million problem. And we'll have to see how that is rectified. But if that's the case, yeah, there's a $3 million problem. All right.
We've also seen things on the town side added back in through some of the memos we've received from different departments.
Yes.
But these things are added back in, and that balance, that budget, the word balance doesn't come to mind, but it was cut.
All right, some of the additional memos we've seen are the result of additional cuts that the town administrator was talking about putting in. All right, so they're not on the budget numbers that we're looking at right now.
Right, we need
These
to
are
revise
additional
them.
proposed cuts, so he has to cut 5% off expenses.
Right, we just need to see something more revised. This is,
Right.
it's like trying to work with the,
Yeah, that's why.
the first revision of something,
Right.
when we're 2 revisions down the road, or 3.
Is there a revision I'm aware of?
Is there what?
Is there an updated budget number that I'm not aware of?
No, there isn't, because one of the things is we don't have a sheet yet that has the actuals for 2011 and the appropriations for 2011.
Okay.
And the estimates, that's the next one we're supposed to have, and, their committee made the commitment to us that we would have it in time for when the warrant arrives.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
okay? And I know that they're, working pretty hard on trying to get it put together as fast as they can. So we've got to give them some time, it's a lot of work.
So we'll have that when we get the warrant?
Yes,
Supposed to.
that's when we're supposed to have it,
Really?
yes. All right, I will tell you, if we were to level fund this, well, I'm sorry, no, that back, it's a different analysis I did. If we were to look at the budget as we have it set today, by the town administrator, if we knock out all the additional positions that he was talking about, and like in the information, the IT side, he was talking about putting licenses in that should be capitalized. If we back out the small amount of capital appropriations that's in there, I could skim through the budget. And that 292 that I brought up,
Mm-hmm.
all right, that's sort of critically important. The most I could go through and pull out of this budget, very quickly without getting into a lot of details, about $780,000 on the town side. So we'll flip to the school
Talking
side.
about all the capital of the police department as well, or
No, that was taking out,
just the licenses?
no, it was the, the parking plan, the defibrillators,
Right, that's
and
capital.
the onset bath, those were capital items that are in here because of the money for the food being put in here. I left the funds alone, all right, because that's all we had to
Did we
work
leave
with.
the other
All
alone?
right, and then went to look at the other items and said, okay, where if we added personnel, where if we put some things in that we know that, probably aren't gonna fly. And then there was that one correction in the 292, which is almost 300,000. So I honestly, what I was looking at was maximum cut about 460,000, and then about 300,000 was potentially in error. We don't have a lot of room to
No.
move here at all. David's bored.
But
It's hard, dude.
I'm with you, I'm just waiting for the questions.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
Well, I'll shut up if you got a good one.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
but the whole meals tax thing is, even if you take those things out, we're still waiting on legislation, mind you, but we can't use that for anything but a capital expense anyway. So it's
That
just-
legislation hasn't come down yet. Until it does, it can be used for anything.
Yeah, but we made it time
They made it
specific.
time sensitive and then it could be
So
retroactive
even if it
after
doesn't come
that.
down, that's gonna have to come out.
I just left it as it is.
Well, I'm okay with that.
I mean,
I'm good.
That's, we can get into more detail. Like I said, I skimmed it. All right, I didn't go into any of the other great detail. Technically, that's not our job,
Well, I guess
even
that's,
to do that much. But I did make the comments before that I recommended that we freeze all positions at this point, et cetera. And try to shoot for level spending, if nothing else. Mr. Donald?
let me just kind of jump right on top of that, because I don't think that's our job either. I think at this point, we need to come up with basically where we need to be in total, and let them, it really isn't our job to go back and cut individual departments, positions, or anything like that. That's up to the town administrator and the board of selectmen. Our job is just to arrive at a number. Is that,
That's basically what I was trying to do, and look to say, if I did it right off the top real quick, I think I could find 800. All right, now that 800, that has to go, we just don't add any new people. But again, you're right, Actually, I wouldn't even do that, I would just say what you were saying. We're short X amount, it's your job to detail it.
well, I think it is. We, if we go back, why, maybe I'm just looking at this wrong. I think from our standpoint, we have enough issues to deal with as volunteers for us to go back and basically build a budget. Come on, it's.
Oh, that's not our job.
No,
Not only that, but we're not
it's
even,
not
really
getting that.
right, we're not even commissioned by the charter to do that.
But that's what.
I think I'm just trying to give us a look at it and say, well, what are we gonna face when everybody starts jumping up and down?
Okay,
Probably our best solution is probably to just say, level fund everything, and then figure out, I think the first time I did that, we were about 400,000 short. That might be a way to go. That's about the most we could do, right? We say, either over the budget, as with the school number, you got a problem.
you
Go
do.
with the town administrators, you got a problem. all right? Or try to level fund it, but I'm not gonna try to make that decision tonight as to how the community, everybody should, but I wanna make everybody aware of it, so I'm just thinking of it. Because somewhere along the line, like on April 23rd, we have to say, this is where we stand
We
on the
need to say
budget.
that before then, I think.
Yeah, this is where we stand on the budget. Well, we will, because we'll write our reports, yes.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I really think that, I know what the charter says is our responsibility in that, but I think our responsibility, I do commend you for looking at ways to cut, because the people look to guidance from us, because we're not politically involved, and we're just supposed to be good, in my mind, we're supposed to be good, common sense folks and tell them the way it is. But I strongly recommend, and I don't know if it's gonna take a whole lot more time, whatever, but you had brought it up at one period in time, that we show folks in a menu type way, look, this is what's proposed, this is what's proposed, and this is what's proposed. If this goes through, it's going to cost you so much as a taxpayer.
No, I don't know that we can
We
do that.
talked
Our
about
job
it.
really is
What?
to make sure that it comes out, that if this is what the budget is, these are the services that we'll be losing. That's our job, is to put that out there.
But we're
As
not-
far as the 2.5 rate income or debt exclusion, none of that is our business until it comes before the committee. We either recommend to go with it or not.
Well,
I hate to, you know,
I do feel that,
I
I
understand
just
where
feel
you're coming
that, I feel that people need to be, they really need to have it explained to them from someone that is not biased.
Oh, I agree.
You know, I honestly do. I feel that we, as a FinCom, and you particularly as a chairman, have that responsibility to the people of Wareham, to explain to them in good old fashioned, this is where we're at. If you want this, you can have this, but it's gonna cost you this. If you want this, it's gonna cost you that. You know, I'm not out to go attacking any personally, any person in this town that works here. A lot of people here are really good people, but we're paying them too much money. We all know that. We can't afford them. But
No,
I'm not,
that's not the way to go.
well, that is the way it is, and you know it is.
No,
You know it's the way it is.
we can't say that we're overpaying people.
Okay. Well, if we can't say it, who can?
I don't think that's the issue. Why do you, I don't think that's, I mean, like Frank said, I mean, in what you just said a second ago, there are some options to be made. You know, tell them, you know, what our options to be, but I don't think attacking overpayment or anything is the way to go.
I would tend to agree on that.
I'm not saying, I'm honestly not saying that. Don't you think the voters in this town are saying for instance, and I don't happen to agree sometimes, but even the school department, the hierarchy, we can't afford it anymore. Nobody's saying anybody's not good. Everybody's good.
That's not
Nobody's
what,
not saying
that's not what I
that.
meant, but the way to do it is, like you said earlier, do the options. We want
Exactly.
this, we have to do this, and this, but to say we gotta cut salaries to get this and this, I don't think that's the way to go.
Well, it's better
Just
to
an
cut
opinion.
positions.
Yes, well,
It's
that's,
better
you
to cut
know,
positions
they need to.
than salaries.
I don't
Like
think
said,
that's
they're
our
gonna come in
job.
next week,
yeah.
they're gonna come in next week and they're gonna tell us what it means. That's the information we have to make sure it gets out there. All right, especially on the school side. But again, we have no authority to even suggest to them how to run their business. Bonnie?
Well, that
Sorry,
was what I was gonna reiterate, is that I understand what Donna would like to do, but there was a time when finance committees in the past, okay, they made the budget, okay? The TA came down, dropped a whole bunch of papers in the middle of their desk, and they sat out and they built the budget, okay? We got way beyond that 4 years ago. This is not the way it should be done. And I think what Frank is trying to say is that it's up to them. We're not their government. They're supposed to be running the show. We're supposed to advise them. And it's up to them to come up with a plan and bring it to the town. and we will give them our opinion as to whether this is a good plan or it isn't a good plan.
That's basically what I'm saying.
Right.
And
But we
explain it.
can't come up with it. We
No,
can't come up
absolutely
with that
not.
plan.
Absolutely
They've got to
not,
do
but
that.
explain to them, explain their options.
That's
And
right.
clearly explain to
Well,
them.
but they don't have an option because the Board of Selectmen have to put overrides and debt exclusions on the ballot. Unless the town passes an unbalanced budget, which creates another whole set of circumstances.
All right.
And dangers as well. There's been problems with setting
Extremely
taxes.
dangerous.
Yeah, that's an extremely dangerous process. David, you,
Yeah, to Dennis' comment. I don't think that people are necessarily overpaid. We look at salaries sometimes and we have a lot of skepticism. But when you look at industry, it isn't the pay that destroys you. It's your benefits.
Thank you.
Well, we all know that.
Well, but the point that I'm trying to make here, Donna, and trying to support you, but also trying to say words, is that we know that pension and healthcare are totally out of control in terms of the or on the government side of the world. Industry finds ways to address this. They don't really ask you, they just address it.
Exactly.
So pay isn't the killer, it's the benefits that are destroying us. And frankly, neither the federal government nor the state government has had the courage to address the growing healthcare liability. And definitely they have never addressed federal and state pension liabilities that are out there. They continue to disregard the problem. I agree that salaries as a total, including the health care and pension, are a killer. And if you reflect on the number of people that leave Wareham's employment service, nobody leaves it, which tells you that our benefits package and total salary is more than adequate.
Mr. Paulson's been saying that for 5 years.
But as far as them being, quote, overpaid, no. Add
Okay.
in the benefits data, and then I have to agree with you that it's gonna destroy us because we can't go up higher than 2.5% a year.
I totally disagree.
And,
That's fine.
and the benefit package is going far in excess of 2.5% a year. Nothing like.
sort of segues to the next item I had on the agenda as far as other budget line items. And the killer in that, those other budget line items, those are not related to departments or pension. We have no control over pension. Pagani came back and said, you owe $400,000 more this year than you had to pay last year. Nothing we can do about it. And then the healthcare holiday. We have to realize last year we said, hey, we want to continue to fund our government at a certain level, and the only way we could do it is to kick the can down the road with the healthcare holiday. But then we did nothing for a year to come back and figure out how we were going to pay that healthcare benefit this year. And that's what we're running into. That's like $1.2 million all by itself. That's a huge number. Snow and ice, we've been very fortunate this year. It means we might probably wind up with you would have thought with all this wonderful weather, we'd have a great free cash number this year, wouldn't we?
There's a $6 million snowstorm going on right now.
Right. We have to also remember that I think for snow and ice this year, we only budgeted, what, $175,000, of which we know we already spent $90 in October. So we're not gonna get any big bonus out of all of this weather as
No.
well, all right? And those are the items that are not really controlled by the department heads, and we're just, all we see is very, very large expenses coming at us. We will save like 185 compared to what was budgeted for in snow and ice, but that was basically paid by the state anyways. So those items are big expenses. So the pension will continue to grow. We've been warned it could continue to grow a couple $100,000 a year. All right, the health care, we don't know the premium increase yet. That could be a staggering number. I'm not trying to get anybody upset, I'm just saying, we're gonna have to concentrate on those in the next few weeks and see just exactly where we're going in. The school department budget, I already told you what happened with it, joint meeting, we'll definitely meet with them next week. And they'll make their presentation, and we're gonna have to figure out with them as to where they feel that they can survive. And I think you'll find that they're not gonna wind up with a 28.7.
No.
They know better than that, but the question is, do they wind up with 26.7? Do they wind up somewhere between the 26.7 and the 28? Or do we find a way to take $1 million away from them because we kick the can down the road?
Well, and that's kind of what I was alluding to initially, because, I mean, I don't think there's a leaner run municipality when it comes to the overall government here. I mean, these people are running short in their offices and they're running forever. And my previous statement wasn't geared to particularly the folks that work in this town hall, because, I mean, they've been running leaner than lean. I just think that other budgets have just gotten blown out of proportion. And I'm sure the state has a lot to do with it, and their mandates with education and all this stuff.
And then could argue the superintendent's salary too, Carol.
Well, I'm not, I have nothing, you wonderful guy. I mean, he does a great job. I think he does a great job. I mean, I don't have a problem there. I'm just,
It was meant facetiously.
oh, you were making facetious now, I'm sorry.
And the last time on the budget review really would be capital spending, which is like a $40 million. I'm hearing that, things may be cut out of that 300 and some odd thousand. We do have the overrun potential that has to be settled on the IT side. And we're not making a dent in the millions of dollars we know that are a problem. We also have the night school came up. That's a $500,000.
Can I throw my nickel at that?
Sure.
Thanks. There were 3 basic items that were discussed today at the capital planning committee, which those of us in the finance committee know how exciting when you start talking about numbers and events can get. We had been allocated a potential $368,000 for capital planning.
382.
Oh, sorry, 382, let me go for the big numbers here. 382. Of that, approximately 100K was allocated for the school system, leaving us with $282,000 over to deal with 3 or 4 items that the town administrator considers critical. Of that, a potential $151,000 would represent the overrun of the data processing computer upgrade for the town, which would then bring you to approximately $131,000 to take care of many thousands. So once again, so that we didn't lose our perspective, we flagged the ambulances that could be between 200,000 and 90,000, depending whether you buy new or you buy. We flagged that until it was dead meat. The bottom line is, out of 382,000, you can reflect that we'll actually have about $137,000 to try and either buy a new ambulance at 200,000 plus, or go for rebuilds, plus another 2-3 items that the town administrators.
What are the other 2 or 3 items in the
Well,
town
there's a
administrator?
couple of more of the,
Defibrillator?
that'd be the word.
Oh.
Just took it right out of my
Oh, I could
mouth.
see it, I could see it in your head going,
Did you get the parking?
in the parking.
And
And
then.
the onset bathhouse.
Onset bathhouse,
Bathhouses would go to pull up
yeah.
and ask for CPA funding for fall funding.
But it really doesn't matter, because whether we're talking about our inability to take care of buildings or whatever, We're gonna be hard struggle to take care of a critical problem here in town of ambulances.
I agree.
And so, we've asked for Dave Evans to come in next meeting, which I believe is scheduled for the 7th of March. The situation is just getting worse and worse on the ambulance side. Somehow we have to get the town administrator to make a commitment of either to do a rebuild or get a new one. It's just not going to get better. Alan and I have been on this thing for 2 years. I just leave it this, with 131,000 potential free cash out of that 368, there's just not enough to do hardly anything. Go ahead, Larry, I'll address that one and I'll move on.
It would seem to me oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
You know, for just a moment there, I apologize to you, Mr. Chairman.
No, that's fine.
It would seem to me, with as many businesses we have in town, we should come up with some sort of a partnership deal to get an ambulance, for crying out loud. I mean,
Why should we, when they turn back all this money, they should be entitled to get an ambulance?
I guess my point is, I'm not trying to put the onus on anybody. I'm just saying that, to me, that's how it works. If you partner with your businesses in town, the town works with the businesses. When you have a dire need, and we do have a dire need, then we should be able to turn to the businesses and come up with some sort of plans with those businesses to do that.
But can I ask a simple question? If I was a businessman in town, and either trying to come into town or trying to move within the town, and somebody says, gee, we'd really like for the opportunity to you cough up $100,000 for the privilege of moving into Wareham, or moving from one end of Wareham to the other, how would you feel?
Well, first
if you were trying to move your company into town and I came to you and said, Larry, for the privilege of moving into town, we'd really appreciate a new ambulance.
I'm not saying that one individual business. If you went to several businesses, that 100,000 gets a lot smaller. And I'm not saying that all the businesses could do it. I'm just suggesting that there are other ways to skin a cat. And we have the same cat, and it's walking on 3 legs. And we are not addressing the problem. If we can't ourselves as a town, we need to look a little bit outside this little window of thought process.
I'll tell you how I do it.
Capital planning makes the recommendations.
Don't talk to Tom.
Walmart wants to move, you wanna move over there, buy your neighbors. No, don't move.
That's extortion.
Capital planning,
Yes.
makes our recommendations to the town administrator. We're trying very hard at this point to get him to make a commitment to either go for a new one or rebuild. It is high time, we're running out of time. Anyways, enough on the ambulance, beat that to death.
Let me finish what else I was gonna say, and then I promise I'll leave you alone.
Thank you.
For the time being. I think one of the other issues that I have is that if you talk to, and I'm just gonna use an example, the library, their needs in their mind, and rightfully so, are critical issues. If you talk to another department, in their mind, or the school, then their needs are critical issues. From a short-term standpoint, everybody's issues are critical, and we know we can't address them all at one time. But sooner or later, this is all gonna come to a head. And 300,000.
Sooner, not later.
Okay. Post haste, this is gonna come to a head. But this little 300K that we keep talking about is not gonna get the job done.
Nobody disagrees with that.
Okay, but
Can I address the question on the businesses though too? It's like, whether we're talking EV rates or whether we're talking property tax rates or whatever, the policy of the town is to treat citizens and businesses equally. Why should they pay any extra for the ambulances? Okay, I understand what you're saying, right? In certain, many parts of the country, they might look at it that way, but that's our general policy.
well, according to what Donna says, maybe that's not a bad idea, if they wanna get up there on the town floor and say, look, if you guys were willing to pay an extra $1 or whatever it is on your taxes, we'll get an ambulance. Well, maybe people would go for that. I don't know.
I think they would, because that's health and safety.
But Larry, the ambulance produces every year a positive cash flow.
And try to-
And we cannot turn around and say we can afford an ambulance.
I'm with you.
Now, in my heart, I know we need ambulance, but I've got something that produces a positive cash flow, and the town is unwilling to turn around
Well,
and look at that and say, we've got to do something to support that. Now, I'm gonna move on to another
well,
subject.
please don't take this wrong, but that just sounds like a really poor business decision on my part. If you're gonna generate revenue, with something and you don't see that as
It might be a poor business decision, but it is a municipal decision.
that's right. I'm not saying it's
That we're
our
talking
decision.
about.
I'm not
That's
saying
a
that.
municipal decision.
All right.
Second item, the potential for bringing on a graduate student to help the capital planning was discussed today and further discussed after the meeting. One of the things that I said was I would ask the finance committee, probably under new business, if you would consider lending the FinCom laptop, which is now is under Matt Underhill, if we would consider lending that to the graduate student for use. It requires updating. This computer is probably
10 years old.
No, not that old.
second, 5 years, about 2000. The first year that we got.
First year that we were here, it was
2006
already here.
So they bought a laptop for us to use. Obviously, it's behind on the software, but the student would need to be able to borrow it. I just need the finance committee under new business to give us permission for capital planning to borrow that laptop. Next item, we had with us,
You have a motion for that, Dave?
No, not yet.
Okay,
yeah.
Under new
Because
business.
we didn't talk about it yet.
the third item was, Dr. Rabinowitz appeared before us, and they're proceeding in a logical process in this question of the school study for. And part of that is they responded their initial 34 items back to the state. Now the state comes in and says, okay, you have to put together a committee that would deal with this. And they tell you who has to be on that committee. So two of the points are that someone from the finance committee and someone from the capital planning committee have to be on that group. Now, this group will probably be in function a minimum of a year, possibly more.
Oh, no, it's a 3-year project.
So,
Is this tied into the master plan?
No, this is tied into the actual renovation and expansion of the mine.
Oh, never mind. You're talking about mine, it just one, the school.
Right,
Okay,
right.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so with that in mind, Mr. Gilberti, who is the chairman of capital planning, has appointed himself as the capital planning individual to be dealing with the school committee. However, for your thought process, someone from the finance committee will be requested to become a member of that. Then this whole recommendation will go before town meeting to be affirmed. And if it's affirmed, at that point, that committee will be dealing with this right-now school business. So if at some point you're on the finance committee and your term expired, you would still continue on the committee doing that part of it. But you need to know that there will be somebody from the finance committee that they will be looking for to do this. And if you've got experience in bids, constructions, analytical skills, you may want to notify the chairman that you're interested in that type of position. Say it's a long-term commitment. It's an important one because they have to put this together. There will be a contract manager, obviously, when this school's underway, who oversees the bidders. But this committee has to be put together, voted on at town meeting, And I know that the chairman will probably be looking for people who have the qualifications and the desire to be part of that. So, would I be out of line, Mr. Chairman, suggested that they have a discussion with you if that's the direction they'd like to go?
Well, Dr. Rubin has asked me to appoint somebody.
I heard that.
I second that. All in favor?
I heard that.
Can I nominate someone?
I'm on a capital planning. There are no nominations, there's no motions for computers. I'm on the capital planning.
All right.
So there will be a meeting next week trying to get to this one more discussion on ambulances. It's almost heartbreaking. Trying to get a consensus with the Director of Emergency Medical Services, Dave Evans, and Town Administrator and Capital Planning. And we can only recommend it. But something's got to be done. You know, I looked at Ellen Beckley and she just looked at me and I said, how many times can we beat this horse to death? It is discouraging. You know, Ellen and I have been on this for a couple of years. I won't tell you the roads we've been down. You've heard me talk about it before. Enough. Anyways, so much for what's going on in the exciting world of capital planning.
I'm really depressed.
Basically, I would consider that to be, I'm sorry.
No, I have one statement to make on the whole ambulance situation, and then I'll be the end of it. And that, well, you know what? This is no different than 3 years ago with the sewer user discussion, okay? So we're taking the income coming in from EMS and not replacing its capital needs and keeping the business going. So we're using that income to further fund other departments in the town and not taking care of that issue. Okay? That's all I'm gonna say. I do have two things that I wanted to bring up under the budget issues. 2 points, can I make those?
Sure.
Okay. One is I had asked before, I know that we didn't want to get into a lot of, departmental, nitpicking and things like that. But I think we need to really know what's going on within the departments to make our decision. And I had asked about the Council on Aging position and whether we could have the town administrator clarify why we have 2 people doing one job. Okay? That's one. And my other thing was last week, when we were notified that the town accountant's position had been raised to $90,000, $90,000 to $95,000 a year, okay? It came to my attention that our town treasurer, who is at a grade 12, step 5 maxed, and how long has this gentleman been working in this town?
Years.
Okay, is $82,000 a year. Okay, I just can't see how we can bring somebody in at $90,000, which he has not even put in his budget. He hasn't even made the adjustments to make that salary that high. When we have another position in this town that is equally, if not more important, at a lesser salary.
Who, mind you, gets rave reviews from every auditing firm that's been in here. If it wasn't for the town treasurer, we wouldn't, it'd be a lot worse.
I just want to say that is very disturbing to me.
To me as well.
That's all.
You're not gonna look up each other.
Remember, it's still.
We're gonna come to the point here where, and I agree with you, because I think that Mr. Foster is by far one of the main cogs that have kept this town going when all else was failing. However, I'm not saying this guy is going to be better at his job than Mr. Foster, because I don't think that's possible. But if we're going to get somebody in this town, we're gonna have to pay a little more for them than what we would normally, because if you aren't paying attention, this town is a political hotbed and people don't want to come here. So whoever comes here is either going to not be able to read the news, doesn't want to read the news, which is always a good thing, but they're going to be in the middle of a political hotbed, and it just, you're gonna have to pay more to get somebody good. You can be assured that if, for that kind of money, if they don't hire the best that they can get out there for that kind of money, then we have a problem with our hiring practices.
But to Bonnie, Mr. Chairman, once again, Bonnie has hammered it with a sledgehammer, and that Mr. Foster has generally not received raises commensurate with his performance. And I don't believe that somebody's gone outside to see whether he is being compensated in a manner suitable to what other municipal treasurers are being paid based on the fine performance he's turned in. She has a valid point. I don't know if I'd compare it to the accountant,
Different
the
job.
treasurer, but I think that her point that there is a disparity here, and that maybe some people should be encouraged to go out and review other treasurers in other towns.
It's just that huge jump,
Yeah.
just, it just,
Well,
It
that's
really
what was,
disturbs
that's
me.
what was recommended to them.
That's
Bonnie.
the DOR.
That's the DOR recommendation, that wasn't their, that's their problem, they haven't.
And there is a glut, not a glut, there is a complete vast nothingness out there of accountants right now. There's not a lot of them out there. And the good ones are like the BMACs where they get together and say, you know what, we're tired of working for peanuts. We're gonna put a firm together and be able to address 5 or 6 towns at the same time. Your quality people are not going to be in municipal accounting. I don't mean that as a slight on people in municipal accounting, but if you're really good at accounting, you're not looking to be in municipal accounting.
Or be a victim of political whips.
Well, I didn't say that, but I did.
But that's the reality of the
Yep,
situation.
that's what it is.
Yeah.
oh, I have my say, thank you.
It is the Department, it was the Department of Revenue's recommendation.
I understand that.
Right, and they're looking at the past history of the town and the stability of the town's government. And, you know, as they said to me, it's a revolving door. So to get somebody to come in with the level of expertise that we're looking for is, you're gonna have to pay market rate. And right now, as Larry said, there's not very many accountants out there anymore,
Well,
or elsewhere.
I understand that, Mr. Chairman,
Good.
but I mean, I'm looking at it from the average Joe Schmo who's gonna look at that in the paper or is gonna see that on the budget and is gonna say, why are we paying this kind of money?
The answer I received was because.
And then we'll have to explain the reason why.
Well,
Supply and
exactly.
demand.
The answer I received was because it is a toxic environment.
So
That's
they're
one of
getting
the,
hazardous
that's
pay?
one of the reasons.
It's a toxic environment.
Okay.
That's what I was told. And anybody's coming in for the job, well, it is. If you stop and look at it, it is, as far as accountants are concerned, it is a toxic
Okay.
environment. And,
I'm gonna put that down, a toxic environment.
There's asbestos in
We
the
need to
office.
try to use that in a memo somehow.
No, they want people when they're applying for jobs to watch what you put on your Facebook page. Try Googling Wareham. That's what I can say. Try Googling Wareham. And anybody who applies for the job is gonna, or sees the job advertised, is
Anybody
gonna
applies
Google
for a
Wareham.
committee.
Right, that's what's gonna happen. And that's the reason why the recommendation was made, is that, you know, it's gonna be very difficult to hire a professional to come into this situation, because they don't need to.
I'll be
Because there's so many other towns that are looking, and there's so many other organizations, business organizations that are looking for people.
I had a chance to peruse a couple of.
Nobody wanted to put that job out at that number.
No, I don't think, I had a chance to peruse a couple of different jobs that are out there for different towns that are in a similar situation as far as size and whatnot. And you'd be surprised looking at the numbers of what they're having to pay people. I'm not gonna mention any numbers because it just doesn't,
You
but
know what, Larry? That's great, but I'm telling you, when certain people, and I can name them right now if you like, stand up on town meeting floor, I'm gonna go, you know what? Go ask Mr. McDonald, he's gonna tell you how it is, because
and you know what? If they wanna stand there and listen, the reality is, this is what you pay for when you have this kind of
I understand
environment. If you don't, if you want a good, I'm not talking about your average beginner accountant. You need somebody in here. This Vadar system is obviously throwing us for a loop. Justin seems to, is that his name, Justin? I always want to call him with the other name too, but he's good at what he does. He's not here full-time. I mean, they are doing other places as well, but to get a full-time accountant in here, it's gonna cost you some money, and in the end, instead of us sitting here wondering where our reports are and everything else, it'd be nice to have somebody in here that could do all that, and that's gonna cost you an arm and a leg, because I'm not gonna go, what do you call it, the battle pay.
Now, the other thing too is that we like to sometimes look at a job like that and we say, well, you know, there's a lot of bookkeeping and stuff that needs to be done. If you want to know, individual coming into this position, pull out the audit report, management letter, and read it.
Yep.
That's his job or her job when they come in. And that's part of the reason why it's $90,000. Because they have to correct all that in the first year that they're here.
I just also think, I mean, you were hoping to get someone with an advanced degree, and in these times, you're not gonna get someone to come out of private sector to municipal government for, you know, when there's such a differential.
Exactly.
When they have to spend all this money on
Education.
school loans, and they have, you know.
I'm quite aware that I got a kid with $100,000 in loans to pay who's working at Target. Okay?
He's got 60 years to do it, okay?
I think we're beating this to death, but I'd like to point out something. Our original comment dealt with John Foster and his salary structure of about $82,000, and going out and hiring somebody at $90,000. From my observation, both in business and in government. But the reality is, if you've been in your job for a few years, either the salary structure goes past you faster than management is willing to raise the job rate. And that's on both sides, government and so by doing your job and remaining in your job, you punish yourself in the sense of lost opportunity. More than once that I have observed people leave a department, go away for 3 or 4 years later, and come back at almost double the salary and supervise people that they had no chance of even getting near because they were willing to move, increase their salary structure, and come back. That is the difficulty that our treasurer has done a wonderful job. He's been in the job so long that we have no real idea of what his salary structure should be. In a other world, he would leave, go to another town, and he would come back at a significantly increased salary. And I think that's the point you're trying to make, is that his salary is here, we're trying to hire somebody here. He has been at this position there, and I don't believe that, I believe he's being punished for being, not overtly, not by design, but by the fact that he has not moved to other towns and then come back because his salary is now more competitive.
That's the same way with other department heads too.
Absolutely.
Matt Underhill, you can go down the list, you've got some good people here. Mark Gifford,
I just
great
worry
people.
about.
I'm just trying to make that point to you.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? I think that's all. I'm looking at it that way, of you're bringing somebody in at starting them up, 10 grand above our highest paid people here.
That's the way it is in the private sector.
I understand that, but you know, the other side to it is if we're just talking about the department heads, you could probably find a number of individuals below the department head that are in the same situation.
Oh, absolutely,
And what
absolutely.
it comes down to is, when we, it comes down to the issue of, okay, we're fine, we have to go out and buy, and people say, okay, I understand the market. But then when we sit down and we go to the budget and say, we want to increase wages by X, everybody goes, what, are you crazy?
Yeah.
I'm not saying, yeah.
Because
but
that is the practice in business, and people are looking to see what business is. I understand what you're saying.
I just
It
feel
is
like
a
we're
huge
opening the
problem.
door to something that, may get us, I don't know what, later on. I would hate to say, hate to see certain people say, well, you know, you're gonna hire somebody at 90 grand, I'm not gonna do this, I'm out of here, you know, and then, what, we're driving somebody else to come into
That
town?
is the town
That's what
administrator's
happens.
problem. That's the town, it's the chief executive
what
officer's problem.
I
And that is what
guess I
happens.
worry too much.
Mr. Chairman, can we move on
Yes,
to the
yes,
next
if we
item?
can. Mr. Duval's worried about the snow as am I.
Well,
So, no, I don't think we have any other liaison reports. Does anyone else have anything from the liaison report side? New business, there was a request for the laptop. It was given to me and I sat on my desk for about 6 weeks. I said, this is crazy, let's bring it back to the town, see if anyone else can use it. I brought it back, it's sitting over, I think, in Derek's office. Me and I sat on my desk for about 6 weeks. I said, this is crazy, let's bring it back to the town, see if anyone else can use it. I brought it back, it's sitting over, I think, in Derek's office, just collecting dust right now. So if someone has, you know, if the capital planning is willing to use an intern on projects, I would like to know what projects are, so we're down the line. Anybody have a problem with letting them,
I
Larry?
don't have a problem with the laptop. Is this a paid intern?
Yes,
What?
we paid them,
Not unless when we submit the job description and submit a request for some kind of little stipend to cover transportation. If it doesn't go through, the graduate student is going to be working for experience only.
the amount of money that the town pays in terms between the federal grant or otherwise, it's a matter of hundreds of dollars
Okay.
per, so
Like a work study
140
program.
hours worth of work.
It's like a work study.
Believe me, what you're getting and what they're getting, which is through either grants or through tuition reimbursement, we pay virtually nothing.
I was just curious, that's all. That's fine. No problem.
Well, nobody will
You
speak
mean
up.
I make a motion to loan the finance committee laptop to the capital planning committee for use by a graduate student.
Second.
Is that good?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? So 7-0.
You take care of that point, Ellen?
I'll forward it to the chairman.
I knew that.
But I'll get the laptop for you, that's not a problem. I'll get it for you. As I said, as David mentioned, we did receive, I received a letter on the 28th from Dr. Rabinovitz explaining the committee and the study of the school building committee. We're looking for 2 representatives from the school committee, 1 from the finance committee, and 1 from capital planning.
I'm walking.
All right, I was requesting.
2 minutes.
No, 1 from the finance committee, 2 from the school committee, 1 from finance, and 1 from capital planning.
What was it?
Pardon?
What was that, one more time?
That's what we talked about earlier.
2 from the school committee, 1 from capital planning, and 1 from the finance committee. All right, this is a very,
I would be interested, Mr. Chairman.
this is very
Second
intensive
that, Laura.
type of situation.
I
Listen, all right, they're gonna meet a lot. All right, there's a lot of evaluations that have to be
Well,
done, et
that's why
cetera.
I'm saying maybe it's someone that doesn't work full-time.
It's gonna have to be, because you may find, you know, what's gonna happen is that person may find themselves in a single month meeting 5 or 6
Yeah,
times in the
exactly.
same month.
That's
All
why,
right,
that's why I
that's my
offered my
greatest-
services.
That's my greatest concern, is that we do that. All right, does anyone else have an interest as well, or?
No, I was
Going out.
thinking, I mean, I'm not
Maybe a lot of
interested,
daytime
but,
meetings, et cetera.
I mean, Mr. McDonald is probably the only one of us who has children in the school, but Donna does have the more construction and, et cetera back.
Mr.
Did any one of
McDonald
us
has a
sitting
very,
here?
very full-time job on the other side of Boston, too.
And I do have a lot of construction experience.
Yeah, you do.
Well, 2 of the members that are on this committee, 1 must be an architect, and 1 must be a construction representative. All right, they are the members at large. All right, what we're looking here, probably for, is also the financial backgrounds, et cetera. All right, building design, et cetera. I also have an interest in it as well, because I've built a lot of places.
Well,
All right, from the financial
All
side.
right, all
All
right.
right, my greatest concern is that, you know, I even talked to Jim about it a little bit too, is the number of meetings. this is gonna be a lot of meetings, and they're gonna be long,
I don't have a problem with that.
intensive meetings.
I don't
Could you
have a
guys
problem with
work
that.
together, maybe split it up a little bit?
No, you can't split it.
I-
And not only that, it's like we were saying, it's probably a 3-year commitment.
Well, and I don't have a problem with that, but,
If I may,
Right,
the point that was made was that once you're onto this committee and approved by town meeting, the school notifies the state. So no matter whether you're still on the finance committee or in the capital committee,
yeah,
you
you
will
still want
continue
to,
on in this committee. It is going to be a major
Okay.
finance project.
absolutely.
If to put it
I don't
another
have a
way,
problem with it.
it may be so all-encompassing that you will give serious consideration to your other town commitments.
Mhm. Well, I'm gonna be off the finance committee anyway, until the end of the year. So, like I said, I'm pretty much, as I said, if you want the position yourself, go ahead.
I'm not
Just
gonna do
saying.
anything, I'm not gonna do anything tonight, I just wanna bring it up to see who else has interest. We don't have Sam here,
Mhm.
we don't have, which I don't know if he would have interest in it. Pardon?
I
And
Sam.
he's also Dick, too. Dick would have interest in it, so I'm not gonna do anything tonight, you and I can also talk about it. My greatest concern is, like I said, a large number of meetings, long meetings, et cetera, that Dr. Rabinowitz seems to really emphasize that with everybody.
Well, if you like,
But
Mr.
he's
Chairman, I would be
really
happy to
concerned.
withdraw.
Well, I've been talking to other people, so, well, I get to appoint anybody you want anyways.
That's exactly
No,
right, so
I
I will
want to
withdraw.
talk to everybody.
Make it easier for you.
Don't withdraw.
No, don't withdraw, don't
You
withdraw.
expressed an interest,
You express.
That's all.
expressed an
I
interest.
have expressed an interest, and I have 2 other people I have to talk to them as well.
And
All right? And I don't think it's the type of decision that you make without at least 48 hours to think it over.
Well, some
And I would also
people
recommend-
need that, some people don't.
I would also
You know,
recommend-
due respect.
I would also recommend that you contact Dr. Rabinowitz and find out what's involved, okay? Because he's been through this once before, and he was pretty much emphasizing the amount of time. And the other thing too is I don't know that it's all evenings. I think it's a lot of it's
It's
days.
Saturday night.
Is it in the
my
daytime?
reading of that was.
Yeah, in the daytime.
It's not a problem.
That's all the anticipated new business items that I had that came up at the last minute. Anyone else have?
I got one little, and maybe this should have been a while back. I went online to the town website, which is a lovely place to visit, looking up the recycling committee, and there's a little confusion about, I think they meet quarterly instead of monthly now.
After you finish, I'd like to.
No, please, because I'd like to get in touch with them. I have already scheduled, I would like to go to their next meeting, and I would like to bring a guest, and I want to talk to them about it.
Yeah.
You're having trouble finding
When their next meeting is.
all right, I'll find out who their full-time, who their part-time person is that's being paid. I think I have it in my email.
I would love to, because I will attend that.
Okay, I'll get to it.
To the, as we all know, I'm not the fastest or most adroit person on my feet, but last week, the recycling committee came before us, and they talked about his need for more money, et
Yes.
cetera. As the days went by, and I cogitated this in the background, I finally said to myself, wait a minute, why are we in a recycling business here in town? We're spending money to have a recycling business that's open 2 days a week. Now, because some of us are more mature than you youngsters, but we were able to go over to the service center, the harbor master's office, and obtain a $15 dump sticker plus beach sticker. And in a spirit of generosity, I bought one for my wife so she could go to the beach. And I bought one for my car so I'd go to the dump. So I did what I could to support the town. But when I go there, whether it's in Marion or it's in Rochester, when I drive in, there's a place where I can drop my cans and bottles that are worth money. There's a spot for newspapers. There's a spot for glass and plastic. There's a spot for leaves and other trash. There's another spot for construction material. There's another spot for cardboard. And then there's my general trash. Now, somehow the town is getting money back from this recycling process. We're collecting a $15 fee for the more mature people in town. I don't know what the less mature people pay. However, on one hand, we're collecting a fee to do something that's one great bargain, to bring your trash to either Marion or Rochester. And on the other hand, we're using some of our tax money to go to a recycling center. And believe me, I've tried this 2 or 3 times, and I don't find it convenient for me to use it for the hours that it's open and the days it's open. So I'm wondering, why is the town, one, running a recycling center that's almost, not quite, but almost the same as what Marion and Rochester are running? And then we turn around and we sell stickers so you can use this. So, on one hand, it's almost like we have a business competing with the town, or the town competing with a business. It does not make sense in my mind why we have a recycling.
Let's go together next time. You go with me to the meeting.
Call me, because I'm unable to understand how a town can compete with itself within the town.
Trash has always been a big problem in this town.
Bonnie, I can go to.
With all that in mind, I'm appointing you as a co-liaison at the next meeting, and we'll get a report from you next week.
Oh, yeah.
We'll get a report from you next week.
You know that I shall be in California and have to call it in.
Tom?
The only, one thing that I found out on the recycling is that they aren't, they're paying ABC, I believe it's ABC, on the dumpster to come in and they haul off the glass and the cardboard and the metal, okay? Now, we're actually paying for ABC to come and take away the tin, or the metal cans and stuff. And I was talking to the gentleman there who's running it, and it seems to me that it's the price that they're getting it to haul it away isn't worth it, because right now, scrap metal's at one of the almost all-time highs. They're getting like $12 a 100 pounds.
You have a pretty good idea where we appointed certain people as
You
ladies.
might want to have that, we'll have that conversation after.
We'll have that conversation later, yes.
They're not making the money they should.
You want to guess who my guest is going with me to that meeting?
All right, what we're going to deal with that. All right. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the meeting minutes for January 11th and February 22nd.
A motion for the 11th?
The 11th is...
No, we've already approved that, didn't we? That was the...
That was the department head. We
Okay,
didn't do it last week.
that was, the department head meeting.
Motion to approve the...
That was the daytime meeting.
That was
Yes.
the daytime meeting.
That's
Yes.
right. Motion to approve.
Yeah.
All right.
Second.
Second from Bonnie. Dominic, Renee, and Stan weren't there, so take note of that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? 502 is the vote, it's 2 abstentions. The 22nd, I'm going to put that off to the next meeting because I haven't had a chance to review it. I'm supposed to review it in detail. Motion to adjourn.
Did you want us to?
Next
This meeting is,
Next.
Oh, that's,
You know what? I almost
fine.
redone.
Whenever I felt like it, right?
Is it one of my?
The next meeting is next week
It was my bad.
At 6.
at 6. Okay?
The date?
I think it's going to be a pretty limited agenda. I have a request from CPC to come see it, but I'd like to see the articles first. Okay? And so that they have their articles, we can make sure, have them come in later. Mr. Trudell?
in spite of the sarcasm of someone who said to me, "Where's your wife taking you now?" Whose name I won't mention. Clink, pink thingamajig, long blonde hair. Anyways, without mentioning that, I will not be available next week or the 14th.
Okay.
We're having a
Send
big
me an
barbecue
email
on
to
the
that
14th,
effect.
are we, or something like that?
Well, if you hold on to midnight, I'll be here.
Yeah, sorry.
Where is Mr. Paulson been? Is there some, is he
Mr.
away?
Paulson's, yes, he's away.
Okay, so there's no need for
He
concern
had
in
sent me a
that?
note, no, and when he comes back, we'll ask him to discuss some of the information he's learned, that he's more knowledgeable than I am, have to do with revenues.
Okay, I just
Okay.
wanted to know if there was some need for concern, because, Okay.
He sent me a note saying he had out of time for a couple of days.
okay.
Motion
All
to
right, so
adjourn.
our next meeting will be at 6 P.M. next week. We'll
6
try
or
to keep
6:30?
it 6,
6 p.m. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
6 P.M. Because they have to go to their meeting at 7 o'clock. All right, I'll try to keep the agenda short, but we will make sure we have it going. It'll be an interesting meeting no matter what. All right, motion to adjourn. I have a motion from Mr. McDonald, second, Mr. Traville, all in favor?
I
Opposed?
Go ahead, do it.